Anine, my name is Sherry Loxonen, and I work for the Intertribal Council of Michigan in the Environmental Services Department, Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. In an effort to increase Michigan's tribal communities and family awareness of the importance of having a healthy home, the Intertribal Council of Michigan has been visiting tribal communities, hosting mini conferences. The following video is a recorded session during one of our presentations. Families spend at least half of every day inside their homes. A safe and healthy home that we depend on to support our basic needs should also protect us from illness and injury. Unfortunately, our homes can sometimes make us sick. The examples are lead-based paint, smoking secondhand smoke, asthma, moisture, mold, fire injuries, pesticides, and deadly hazards that is invisible, such as carbon monoxide and radon. Clutter can shelter insects and rodents. A healthy home needs good indoor air and good ventilation, safe water, free from lead and high levels of radon or the excess of chemicals.
Just a real brief overview. My primary function with Building Science Energy Services and Building Science Academy, we kind of have sister companies. We do training for energy efficiency stuff. We do audit training. We teach contractors how to go into houses, how to look and discover what's going on with a house, how the systems work together. It's not rocket science, but it's very interesting stuff, and utility companies are on board, and many programs are now utilizing home performance contracting. So that's kind of what we do. The services part comes into play in that we try to help tribes, communities, contracting organizations, whoever it might be, utility implementers. We try to help them put together a whole program that makes sense for their communities and things like that, that help save energy, but also to make their houses more healthy and more comfortable. So that's just a brief background of what I did. I actually came from the automotive field and had a design business. Delphi was our big customer. They, of course, filed bankruptcy. Like a lot of other people, you had to rediscover yourself and find a niche, that might be something that of interest. And boy, when the energy efficiency thing came along, I was like, wait a minute, people's houses leak. People are unhealthy. There's a lot of asthma now and allergies. That to me was interesting. Wow, I can get involved in a field that makes sense, and these are all things we need to do. Unfortunately, let's be realistic, it costs money to fix your house, and so we're looking at utilities and saying, what can we do for homeowners? What kind of incentives and rebates and structuring can we do so that homeowners aren't out? A lot of us are living paycheck to paycheck, so it's tough. Now the first slide, reasons to become energy efficient. That's kind of my passion. But the funny thing is that energy efficiency really is a bonus after you make your house more comfortable, after you, make, your son's room, maybe it's in the end of the hallway and it's real cold all the time, or you have an upstairs where it's so hot in summer you can't even use a room. Maybe you have moisture, on your windows. I have that in my bathroom. What the heck's going on, right? These are issues that really shouldn't be going on in your house. And the funny thing is when you fix all those things, your house becomes more energy efficient and you save money as well. So it's really just a bonus if you do all those other things. So reasons maybe for a tribal community, for instance, to become more energy efficient. Obviously, it creates jobs. It really does. They've got to get in your attic. They've got to do different things. They've got to learn about air sealing, insulation, HVAC stuff, things you need anyway. Maybe your roof is bad when they tear it off for your roof. Well, it's a good time to look at your insulation levels and to see how many bypasses and things are going into your attic. So obviously it can save money. We've all heard that. Statistics are pretty alarming. Children with asthma, it's up. As you can see, doubled in the last 10 years. So pretty scary stuff. We actually spend, they say, 90%, up to 90% of the time in your home. Which you think, what? I'm outside, I'm running my kids around here and there, but it's amazing how much time you really spend in your house. And when you think about maintenance to your car, you all change the oil, we put in new tires, we know we have to do those things. And in our homes, for some reason, we're usually pretty good if we change the filter in the furnace. We don't look at our house like something we need to maintain and make healthier and keep up for all of us. So obviously, all these other things, and the biggest thing is comfort issues. I mean, if your furnace goes out, you're going to call the furnace guy and say, hey, I'm cold, right? I have a comfort issue here. I need a new furnace. So that's what we're trying to get people just to look at, some of the things that, you know, they can do themselves too that will save them a lot of money and also make it more comfortable. You know, and there's a lot of things out there. This guy says, you know, hey, if we know that energy efficiency makes sense, why aren't people doing it? Well, there's a lot of reasons. You know, sometimes they say people don't want to understand about it. I don't really think that's true. I mean, I think homeowners are getting smarter. You know, utility companies are bombarding us with energy efficiency stuff. You need to be green. You need, you know, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it just goes one ear and out the other. What can we do? What makes sense? You know, what really makes sense in things we can do? So I think people do know the benefits of it, but I'm of the big opinion that, you know, we can't afford it. We have to make things simple. Healthy homes are safer, you know, and like I said, energy efficiency is kind of a bonus after that. Dust and allergies. You know, some people will say, God, I just dusted my house and 2 days later, everything's dusty again. Well, there's air infiltration. There's obviously holes and leaks in your house, and that's why. Moisture, big problem for a lot of people. Asbestos, depending on the age of your house, can be pretty predominant. Things you got to be careful of. Lead paint. Any pre-1973 home is probably a candidate for having lead paint in it. So it needs to be dealt with in the right way. And then, of course, the comfort issues. Critter, bug infestation. This is, I live kind of in the woods, and I had mice in my house. I don't want mice in my house. You know, that freaks me out. I have holes somewhere. They're getting in somewhere, right? So not necessarily, you know, big, huge issues, but they're really things that can be addressed and make your house a lot safer and healthier. Now, I threw all these in there because I actually did some testing on my house. I wanted to know, where were the leaks? I've got an 80s ranch house, you know, nothing special. Thought it was built pretty good. I saw the plans, it's 2x6, you know, wall construction, and not being from the construction background, I was like, well, what the heck? It doesn't seem that bad. And people said, well, do you get big icicles? Do you get big ice dams? Well, you know, not really, but I do notice rooms that are colder than others and things like that. So what we did is we set up something called a blower door, and it acts like pressure. It acts like wind, like a 25-mile-an-hour wind all around your house, every side. So what's great about it is you can just go around and really feel with your hand where every leak is. You can also use a smoke stick like we did here. It's kind of hard to see, and I'm not really sure how good you can see these, but you can see it blowing right back at you. So I looked around the window, and boy, most of it was pretty good. And then this one spot just, so I know now I got to pull that trim back, get some caulk behind there. It's amazing how much difference it makes. This plug here was on the inside wall. So you think, well, this is really odd. Well, what happens is the electrician who puts the wiring in goes in and drills a hole up through your attic to run the wires through and drop them down somewhere else. They don't seal the holes. So a lot of times you'll go up in your attic and look, and there'll be this 3-inch or 4-inch round hole for 2 little wires going through, right? So that's where the air's coming in, it's leaking, and it's running down, and it's coming out, and you feel that. Is it hard to fix? No. No, it's not. This was another thing I laugh at. I bought my house, and I was like, this is weird. There's no lighting in the living room and dining room. How do people clean? I got to see. I'm getting old. My eyes aren't that good, you know. So I laughed about it, and my friend's electrician, and he goes, well, you need can lights. Kitchen, boy, you got to have it all lit up. You got to have everything lit up. So that's what we did. We set about putting in can lights, 38 of them to be exact. Then I learned about building science, and I was like, oh, what did we just do? We just cut all these little holes up into our attic. Things you don't think about, all of those leak. So all of your heated air that you're paying for is all going up those. So there's ways to fix them, though. This just happens to be a can cover, not that expensive. A contractor will put it over your can after they clear away the insulation, foam it in, so that they can put the insulation back around there and be safe. You don't want insulation on top of a lot of the heated elements. Again, kind of hard to see, but in my bathroom, there's a bulkhead. A lot of them have bulkheads. Well, back in the day, they didn't know that all that cold air is going to run down into the bulkhead area. It's not even, you know, blocked off. It's a big open hole. Then I have a bath fan, which I'm wondering why I have, you know, moisture and mildew starting to grow in the bathroom, and the window's always steamed up. Well, the bath fan has got a 90-degree kink in it. There's nowhere for the air to flow. You need it straight. You need it, you know, a run like that. So, and it's supposed to be vented outside. You never want moisture dumping in your attic. Well, in this case, they just cranked it 90 degrees and found the closest beam and nailed it to it, and there it was. You know, and this was a really reputable builder. This stuff still happens today in brand new houses. So they're really simple things, but they're things that, how many people have ever been in their attic? One? You know, that's not the place I want to go either. You know, especially when we were doing this, it was in the middle of summer and it's like 115 in there, you know, so. But you can see the picture here if you can see it. We just cut a piece of foam board to fit in there and foamed all the edges and sealed everything. Foam doesn't have to be pretty, nobody sees it. So, lot of good uses nowadays. This one actually was my fault. Redid our kitchen, put in a vent, and I don't know if you can see, but it's just dumping into the attic. That needs to be vented outside. That's really bad. I mean, they want you to run fans when you're cooking because all that moisture stays in your house if you don't. So you need to get that out of your house. Unfortunately, you need to get it vented out too. And you'd be surprised how many houses are actually like this. And these are the wire penetrations I talked about. Doesn't seem like a lot, but you'd be amazed at how much air loss you get through those little holes. Anytime there's plumbing, a lot of times under your kitchen sink and things like that, all the plumbing for that has to run somewhere up a wall. So you'll see there won't be any foam, there won't be anything, you know, around there, just a big old hole. This was in my living room. This is a knee wall, they call that. A little bit of a sloped cathedral ceiling. And inside, it was a hot day, so we had the air conditioner was on. We looked and we pointed the infrared camera up into the knee wall, and you see up there over 100 degrees. And you can see the difference in the color. That's what's great about infrared technology. I mean, it will pinpoint where you don't have insulation and where you are losing heat. So I went up in the attic, and it's kind of hard to follow maybe, but there's the wall across there. It had nothing backed on it. It had the drywall, but there was a lot of cracks. So you can see where we went with the foam all that in, replace the insulation, and then back it with this bubble wrap. So you have to have all of those components. There was very little insulation on top of there at all. So the R value is really, really diminished. And anytime it's compromised like that, people think, boy, I'm just going to cram the insulation in those little cracks that I see, right? As tight as can be. That's not how insulation works. Anytime you compromise and compress insulation, it doesn't work. It doesn't do what it's supposed to do. It just goes on and on. I had a whole house fan. My house literally had everything. I don't use it because I have central air. So I just built a box around it, foamed it all in, so I'm not getting any air leakage. So really, you have to look at any penetration you have going into your attic. Anything can be a major bypass or a small bypass. Those all need to be addressed. I had 2 attic accesses. This was in a closet. I'm not going in my attic. I already made that pretty clear. And it's a small opening besides that. So I'm not using that one. I had one in my garage. It's much easier to access. So this one, put the foam board in, call it good, foam it, don't even use it. This is soffit ventilation, they call it. So a lot of times you'll see major icicles or ice dams because what's happening is your heated air is melting the snow, and it's melting and it's running down and it hits the cold eave or whatever and it freezes there. So you got this big ice dam or icicles. So we have to make sure the ventilation's right. These actually are pretty good. They make them a lot better nowadays, but back in the 80s they used cardboard material, which is okay. So the soffit comes up and the air comes up, it needs to get out through your top ventilation. You need that to keep moving. If that's clogged up or anything, it won't do its job. I know this can be kind of boring. This product I just showed on here because I thought it was pretty cool. It's made right here in Michigan. It's a new product where The pitches here, we normally can't get any insulation in there. There's no R value until you start getting, you know, the thickness that you need. And right here, typically, you know, you got an R7. Well, it's not going to stop much, you know, heat there. New products now, they've got foam products where they're getting R22 at this pitch, this little tiny spot here. So a lot of new things they can do, a lot of new technology. You know, and you can hire people to mess around in your attic, or there's a lot of things you can do yourself too. This is a little foam thing that someone just came up with. They wheel it in their house, and it's a lot simpler than someone having to go and buy, you know, get a whole big truck and things like that. So for contractors and people that want to do this type of work and get involved in it, there's all kinds of new things coming out. So they can just run that heated hose up in your attic and foam every penetration they see. It's pretty cool stuff. What does it take to do a more comprehensive type of approach? You know, maybe I'm not the do-it-yourselfer type of person. Basically, someone comes in, they do a complete using blower door technology, infrared camera. They'll do a complete assessment of your house, and then they'll obviously give you a quote. What's it going to cost to fix this stuff, right? And if you need financing, obviously they would take care of that part. There's a lot of good stuff going on right now in Michigan. And then obviously they need to retrofit and do the fixes. And then the great thing about this kind of technology is someone comes back and makes sure they did it right. So I mean, how many people have been burned by a contractor in their day? You know, I mean, everybody has. So it's a great program because it's a check and balance. Someone's coming in and verifying that the work was done and what they said they did. So this is a little bit of the technology just to show you. I don't want to bore you with a bunch of details, but that's the blower door. Pretty simple stuff. They set it up in your door. It's got a big fan. They've got a manometer, which is a pressure gauge, and they usually set it at 50, find out the pressure, and then from there, it's just amazing. You can really involve the homeowner. You set that up and you just walk around, and you can just feel it. Obviously, we want to check combustion safety of your appliances. We're actually working with DTE right now, more in the Grand Rapids area, but we're working with them and going in and doing free health and safety checks for people. So it's a great program. They're trying to get people more involved. They're trying to do some things for free, you know, at least make sure the houses are safe. And then what's nice about it is they'll give you, if a contractor comes in and does an assessment, they'll give you a list of what's the most important thing. What's the biggest bang for your buck? If you do an air sealing in your attic, you know, how much is it going to cost? How much money will you save? And then maybe down the road, you need to add some more insulation somewhere. Or maybe you need, you know, a new hot water heater. So they kind of prioritize it for you, which is kind of nice so you don't have to do everything all at once. Now, talk about air sealing. The attic is the most important because of the way air moves. You know, hot air moves to cold and that type of stuff. So if you have heated air, it's going to try to find cold, which is your attic. So if there's any penetrations at all, that's why we tell people the lid, the attic, whatever you want to call it, is the most important thing to do first. I mean, if you see a hole that's pretty obvious in a closet or penetrations of some sort, make sure you address those. Get them foamed, caulked, whatever. And obviously insulation. Duct sealing is very, very, very important if you have any duct work that runs outside of your heated space. A lot of people have crawl spaces and things where the duct work is running through there, and you'd be amazed at how much heat loss you have through duct work. Usually you'll see sheet metal screws around the joints, and that's all you see. You don't want to use duct tape. It's not for duct work. Duct tape is not for duct work. There's a foil tape that you should use, just so you know. People use it all the time, and you know it gets heated up and it gets gooey and it falls apart. I mean, we've all seen old duct tape, right? So don't use that. There's actually a foil tape for that. Lighting, we've all seen the CFLs. Boy, use the CFLs, you know, and some people are real good about it. Other people are like, I don't like them things. You know, they make me look funny in the bathroom or whatever, so they don't use them. They do help. They do help. But the lighting is improving all the time, too. Obviously, heating and cooling and ventilation, we talked about that, some things that you can do to improve that. Windows are way down on the list. I always laugh because you turn on the TV or the radio, and the first thing they tell you is, boy, if you get new windows, you're going to save 25% on your energy bills. No. It's usually the way they're installed. I mean, unless you have a broken pane or something, you know, ridiculous, the worst bang for your buck is new windows. It really is. And obviously at some point maybe we'll do renewables. Maybe we'll get, you know, to where everybody has solar panels and things on their house. That'd be great. And then of course that's just one of the, this is a real small portion of what an energy assessment might look like. You know, what do your costs now today? If we do some stuff, what might your costs be if you do those measures? And they can break them down by each measure. Financing. Michigan Saves is out there right now. It's 7%. There's a lot of contractors participating in Michigan for that. It's a way for unsecured loans if you wanted something quick and easy. And then obviously all the retrofits that you need to have done, whether it's insulation or foaming and, you know, caulking all the holes. Maybe it is new windows for some people. You might need them. And then, like I said, people come back and check. They recheck. They put the blower door up again, and they say, okay, we had this many air exchanges before we did anything. Now we did this whole project, and we reduced it by blah, blah percent. Okay, now I can see a difference. There's something to weigh that out. And of course, training and education. This is one of the Indian tribes that we trained. A lot of fun. We have a blast with these. But we don't just let it train. You want to get, you know, the involvement of where my next step's going to be. What are we going to do with this training? Whose houses are we going to fix? There's a lot of houses. There was one tribe in Wisconsin that we went to, and it was sad. It was disheartening for the trainers and for everyone. They had put a plastic barrier basically on the outside and the inside of the housing stock. Almost every house was the same thing. There was mold. The kids were sneezing. They all had, you know, allergy issues and asthma issues, and they kind of did the right thing. They kind of put in these systems that added mechanical ventilation because the house was so tight it couldn't breathe. There was, you know, this plastic everywhere, so it trapped all the moisture. So mold was growing. Unfortunately, you know, they make a lot of noise and they didn't like them running, or for whatever reasons, the fans and things weren't running. So it's really unfortunate, and it has to be addressed. It's definitely a housing issue. So, and it's all over. You know, it's not just certain areas. So, this is just some of the technical training that's involved if you really want to take it to the next level. But there's a lot of stuff you can do yourself. This was some of the hands-on training that we did. We actually teach people how to air seal, how to insulate, and it's a lot of fun. It really is. We had gals that they never used a caulk gun and things like that, and getting that foam, boy, they had foam everywhere, but they still had a blast. You know, it was all over their clothes, everywhere. But simple things. We have props that basically show you almost any situation you could find if you went into an attic. Oh, I see this coming up. How should I take care of that? You know, do I have to use fire-rated caulk? Is it a hot thing? Is it, you know, okay to use what material? Those kinds of things. We do sales training, tons of it. Contractors need to learn how to talk to homeowners. What do homeowners care about? Quit trying to be all technical with them and stuff. They don't care or want to know all that. They want to know how to fix their house. So we really do a lot of that kind of stuff too. The biggest thing is interacting with homeowners. I mean, I can't even tell you how many acronyms and energy efficiency terms there are out there. I can't even keep track of them all. I mean, even in our daily lives, we hear so much of it. You're like, what does that stand for? And you don't want to be dumb, so you're like, oh yeah, I get that. And then you're like, what is that? And you look it up on the computer, you know? And there's probably 10 different things for those 3 initials. So these are some of the things we tell contractors and people that want to get involved in this industry. You know, homeowners already don't trust you. They don't. They've been ripped off by a ton of contractors already. They don't want to be your friend. They don't care about how much money you're making. They want you to be honest with them. They want you to, you know, be somebody they can trust. They're already afraid you're going to spend too much money. They don't have the money. So talk to people the way you would want to be talked to. And that's what we tell them, and I'm telling you, it makes a big difference, the ones that are successful and the ones that aren't. So, are there opportunities out there to fix people's houses? Yeah. I mean, look at this. Look at the heat loss. I mean, a lot of people go, what am I looking at? Well, look at, you're supposed to have snow on it. You can see every 2x4 or 2x6 running through there. There's definitely a lot of heat going up into this attic. This is another one. You see all kinds of ductwork that's like 90-degree bends and things like that. I mean, it really restricts the airflow. No wonder this stuff doesn't work. No wonder why the room at the end of the house isn't getting any air, you know? So this one I thought was just funny. I mean, this is a new house. I think it was a 3-year-old house when they took these pictures. Some guy called and said, come on, you got to fix my house. What's going on? I mean, look at those icicles and ice dams. That was a nightmare, a mess. This guy actually had 2 furnaces for his house. His house was so big. And after the house was fixed and all the knee walls were addressed and all these different things, he called back. He said, so you broke my furnace. What's going on? What? I'll be right over, right? So our contractor base went back over there. He said, that furnace isn't running because you don't need it now. When it was built, they put 2 in thing in, you know, you need it. Once they fixed all the issues and sealed the leaks and things, the furnace didn't need to kick on. The one furnace kept the whole house warm. So just kind of funny, some of those things. And this is just a company that we started just to kind of show people, really, for contractors and things, it's not that hard to do. Really what you have to concentrate as is making people's homes comfortable and fixing their issues for them.
Intertribal Council of Michigan hopes that you will be able to start looking for areas to improve your home. A solid structure that keeps out pests, moisture, noise, and is safe from injuries is a healthy home. With knowledge, having a healthy home is within your reach. Miigwech.